who's as adamant about his or her position as I am about mine, whom you think is sharp. Seriously, we know that. And another thing, we heard him say that... Hey, sports fans, welcome to edition number 84 of And Another Thing, believe it or not. Go to LarryElder.com, fill out the form, become an Eldorado. What are you going to get if you're an Eldorado? You're going to get a free copy of Michael and Me. That's a documentary that I wrote, produced, and directed, where I tracked down the fat man, Michael Moore, and I asked him 3 times how often Americans use guns to defend themselves. It was, call it an ambush interview, kind of the way he did Charlton Heston in his movie. I think you'll enjoy it. LarryElder.com, fill out the form, become an Eldorado, free copy of Michael and Me, post haste. Now for episode number 84 of And Another Thing. As you probably have heard, a whole bunch of UACs, that's a term for unaccompanied children, have been amassing on our southern border. These are children mostly from Central America, and apparently they're mostly from Central America because in 2008, George W. Bush signed a bill that said if there is an illegal alien unaccompanied child from a non-contiguous state, that means either from Canada or Mexico, would not be counted, a non-contiguous state. We have to take them in, give them due process, proceedings before we deport them. The idea is that these kids are probably victims of illegal sex trafficking, and we don't want to send them back to the same place where they were victimized. So the idea is to give them due process to make sure they don't have a well-founded suspicion of persecution. It was not designed for a whole bunch of people to send their children up, sometimes with the moms, and then be voluntarily turned over to immigration for proceedings. Then they're given a notice to appear, and then of course, they don't appear. 95% or more of the illegal alien UAC children that came in last year, over 25,000 of them, less than 3% were deported. Most of them never show up. Now, what the Obama defenders say is that we're not spending enough money. Obama wants $4 billion more to hire a bunch of judges to process these people. They're not showing up. It doesn't matter how many judges you have. If they don't show up, what difference does it make if somebody's there at a desk with a black robe on and a mallet saying, let's go, let's go. Order to the court, order to the court. They're not showing up. So the question now is, whom to blame? And what the defenders of Obama are saying is that the 2008 law signed by President George W. Bush that Obama's following, the one that I just now mentioned. Here's the problem with that law. When Congress signed onto it, they did it by what's called voice vote. That's unanimous. When is the last time you heard that happening? Why do you suppose you got all sides, both sides, unanimously to agree to something? Because they thought it was non-controversial. Signing a bill that enables a profile of courage, these are the kinds of signs that are being sent down to Central America, which is what is causing this crisis. And now for your questions. Thank you, sir. Terry from Falls Church, Virginia. I think it's where Jerry Falwell is, isn't it? You have been pointing out a lot of things about Bill Clinton, and here's a question I have not heard anyone ask. Isn't it ironic that when Bill Clinton was president, he was the one who had Surgeon General Joycelyn Elders fired for what she said? Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by the irony of this, unless you mean that Bill Clinton is considered to be the first black president and Joycelyn Elders was, I believe, the first black Surgeon General, and she was fired. Or maybe you mean ironic because Bill Clinton got into trouble because he had sex with an intern, and Joycelyn Elders got fired because she said something to the effect of schools ought to teach, or it's okay with her if schools do teach how to masturbate. She thought it was a healthy kind of thing, and she got fired for that. So for somebody who is perhaps a libertine to object to what Joycelyn Elders said and get fired is sort of ironic, but when you think of him as being a politician. I hope you enjoyed this small excerpt. If you want to see the full video, got to be an Eldorado. Go to my website, LarryElder.com, log in, fill out the form. It'll cost you about $4.75 a month, or about the price of a mocha frappuccino latte at your favorite coffee house. As you can tell, I don't like coffee. I'm a tea drinker. See you next time.